Okay, so you may have noticed that last week we actually were unable to send out the class, and that was because technical difficulties. For those of you who were on knew it was a little bit of a rough haul to get started. Unfortunately, last week, my main laptop, this one, someone had used and put away, and in a nutshell, I was on one laptop for visual and one for audio because it wasn't syncing and I wasn't able to record. So what we're gonna do for those of us who are not even catching on today's class, some were not able to be in last class, and as well, some were also going to be watching this later. So we're gonna do quickly, we'll start with a recap of the main points in last class, and then we'll jump right into this class. So first of all, how is everyone doing? Is that, I got 2 nods and 2 thumbs up. 3, I got 3, we're doing well. 4, we are really doing well. And Karen already jumped on and told me she's doing well. So we're good, 5 out of 5, that's not bad. Yeah, we are also doing good. We had a very busy Shabbat at Chabad, as per usual. And then we actually had, A&M was hosting a Jewish Warrior Weekend, which is this military college-aged weekend for Jewish military young people, and they had a whole weekend, and we hosted them this morning for brunch, and then we hauled to the chili cook-off in Houston, which was also fun, and saw a bunch of alum, and now we're back in College Station just in time. So everything's good, thank God. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, I think the best way to recap the points from last class is let's remember that chapters 1 through 8 of the Tanya are giving us this overview of where this situation takes place, right? And so it's kind of giving us the anatomy, the layout, the groundwork of where things are happening and where the struggle is coming from. That's where recurring struggle we have as human beings is coming from. And that's what the Alter Rebbe is laying out. So what we'll do is we'll jump into the key points, and then it will be a really good springboard into today's lesson. So if someone wants to look at page 20, if you have your book in front of you, let me know. And page 20, it has 6 main points that kind of, if anyone wants to read, I will not argue or complain. Go ahead, Connie. Can you hold on a second? Let's try to unmute you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We have 2 souls, an animal soul and a godly soul. 2, the animal soul is selfish and concerned primarily with self-preservation, while the godly soul is selfless and concerned with godliness.
Right. The animal soul is about life force, about existence, this world, and the godly soul. And it's interesting to understand that both are innate. It's not like we order up a godly soul or order up an animal soul. They're just kind of like part of who we are. Okay. Keep reading.
3, each soul has 10 faculties, 3 cognitive and 7 emotive capacities, mirroring the 10 sephirot.
Okay, here's what we talked about is that basically everything in creation is created with these 10 divine energies called sephirot. 3 are intellectual, 7 are emotive, they drive action. Both souls, if we want to know what the DNA of a soul is, both are made of these 10 faculties, okay? That's great. So that means what's going on inside of me, the animal soul has its 10 faculties, the godly soul, its 10 faculties. And we said, in order to create a balance in this world, where good and evil truly are, right and wrong, or the daily struggle is balanced, both are, bless you, both are made up. There's someone sitting learning Tanya in the background with us. Both are made up of the same makeup in essence. Keep reading.
4, there are 3 garments of external expression: thought, speech, and action.
Here's an interesting one. So we said, okay, we understand what the soul is made up of, but now how does the soul go about expressing its innate being, its innate existence? What does the soul do and how does it express itself? So here's 3 what we call garments of the soul. And the reason it's called garments is because we know that what we put on expresses something. So the soul, in order for the soul to express itself, how does the soul speak or express itself? Through thought, speech, and action. And we made the differentiation at the garment of action. Okay, we understand at any given moment I'm doing this or this. Either it's my godly soul that's being represented in my actions or my animal soul represented in my actions, depending on what I'm up to, right? We gave analogies, examples last class. Same thing with speech. At any moment I could say, so great to see you. At any moment I could say, why'd you show up now, right? At any given moment, we can choose the words that come out of our mouth, whether it's our husbands, whether it's our children, whether it's whoever it's at too.
Yeah.
We're constantly are making choices, what part of ourselves is being expressed. And sorry, what part of ourselves is being expressed. And so we understand that. Now the differentiation we made with Tanya is the differentiation of thought. And we said that the Alter Rebbe is going to differentiate between active thoughts and passive thoughts. An active thought is a choice. I think to myself, oh my goodness, I'm going to kill that person. Oh, I'm so angry, I could kill her. You think that, crosses your mind. Okay, you don't go further. You don't start planning the murder, right? You don't start thinking like how to do that, or like, so that is active thoughts versus passive thoughts. And that's where we actually have more control, which there was a really good question asked. Okay, that's great to say that, but how do we do that? And we'll have more tools by the end of this class. And we said every single few chapters, Algebra is giving us more and more tools to get there. So that's active versus passive, but the things we choose to ruminate or really, really allow to percolate in our brain, there is a difference, okay? And those are garments, because at any choice, positive thoughts or negative thoughts, we all know, I mean, I could say for myself as a parent, there's certain times I've seen certain character traits in certain children, and I know that I could look at it as, oh my gosh, this child has such a challenge in this area, and this is the biggest, like, this child is gonna like push the envelope, or, you know, or let's say you see a child who has a streak of stubbornness and it's really difficult. You can think to yourself, this is the most difficult child with the most difficult nature, or you can think to yourself, this child was given an innate challenge or personality of stubbornness, and when this child learns how to harness it, wow, will this child go far. That's a garment of thought, and how we think frames then what happens. So that's why it's called a garment, and it's called one of the expressions of the soul. Okay, so thought, speech, and action are both garments of the soul. Connie, if you can continue. I don't see.
Thank
Connie. Okay.
Yeah.
You're here. Good.
The animal soul is rooted in kepilat, nogat, neutral, non-holiness, which has the potential to be elevated to holiness.
So what does that mean? That means, thank you, Connie, there's a concept called kalipat noga, neutral non-holiness. That means, like, I remember that character trait I was just talking about. It's inherently neutral. It's how it's expressed and what it does. It's kind of like in between. Where's it going to go? We have the choice. We talked about something like this. Is a drink holy or not holy? Well, it depends what I do with it. I take this bottle and use it to throw it to someone, great, not so holy. You sit down and drink and teach and make a bracha, and I make sure it's kosher, very holy. I'm elevating klipat noga, neutral levels of non-holiness. And the last one, Connie, if you don't mind.
The three utterly unclean kepilot, however, they are eternally irredeemable and cannot be elevated to holiness. Okay,
so what's this referring to? Klipat, we actually talked about, okay, I can eat an apple, and there's divine energy concealed within this apple, within concealment, within creation, that I can choose to elevate by eating this apple, sharing the apple with someone else, making a bracha, doing all sorts of good things. What about a cheeseburger? Like a student said to me, Manya, can I make a bracha on a cheeseburger? You know what? It is not yours to elevate the godly sparks in the cheeseburger. So that's an idea. We also talked about looking at different needs of who we are and things that we seem to think are either neutral or unholy, and we actually discussed how they have potential for holiness. So we talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we talked about how things that we think that are actually unholy really have potential for holiness. So, you know, even though we said it's a shift in perspective, and this is something that really affects students in a real interesting way, when they learn about the Judaism's perspective about money or intimacy or things that are like they think are either black or white, really not so black and white. Our role, how we, whether it's our animal soul or our godly soul, that are utilizing that thing determines how it plays out. Does it become something that becomes holy? Is it something that remains stagnant and is what it is? Okay? So that's a recap. Now we're going to dive in, and any parts that we seem to have missed will come up again. Okay. And again, I'm sorry about the recording last class. It just happens. Technology does fail. You should have seen the contraptions I had set up to even teach the class. There was a phone and a laptop and a speaker. Oh, it was crazy. Okay. So let's look at lesson 2 on page 25 if someone wants to open up. Now the author is going to give us a place to understand, okay, we understand now this is a system. Now, how does that system play out for me? How does that system play out for other people? How does that system play out within my reality, my day-to-day reality? And what can I do about that knowledge of the system? So go ahead, if anyone wants to read on page 25, that would be wonderful. Anyone read? Go ahead, Talia. Well, hold on. There you go.
Oh, okay. Sometimes feels like one big masquerade party. I have an echo. This is awesome. Your inner child is dressed in high heels or a business suit, while your outer parent is busy throwing a major temper tantrum. It can be hard at times to tell what's really you and what's just there for show. In this lesson, we take a close look at inside dads and outsides and how to get the two halves to fit into a single whole.
So we can now understand this in a deeper way. Basically, what's going on here? You ever had to act a certain way and you're feeling completely different inside? The teacher says something at PTA and you're thinking one thing, but you can't say that in public, or you can't express yourself, or the clerk at the store, or your spouse, or your boss, or even within yourself. I really want to sit down and eat that chocolate cake, but I know I need to go to the gym, right? You don't know that example. I know. I'm talking for myself. Always talking for myself. Always talking for myself here. So we can certainly relate as human beings that there's going to be times we feel one way and we have to act another. We can't act what we feel. So this creates a problem. My insides are in one reality. My outside are different. My expectations are here. The way I have to, my children expect me to be here, life. And then there's me, this human, this child in a masquerade, right? I'm wearing high heels and a business suit, but really I feel like having a tantrum on the floor. So who is the real me? And how do we take those two seeming that pull, both from the animal side, the godly side, and how do we function as sane human beings? How do we function as beings that are not bipolar, right? We're being pulled. So how do we create this streamline into our reality, into our behavior, into our day-to-day life when we're going to be challenged with things that are talking both to our animal soul and to our godly soul? Who reacts? Who's in charge? What's going on? So now we're starting to get a little bit more practical. And this kind of answers, or is going to go back to, circle around to, the question we started off with. Who's the real me? The person who makes the resolution, if you remember, we asked that question. Who's the real me? The person who makes that resolution or the person who can't keep it? The person who's struggling? The person who is human? And how do I make peace with that person? My insides and my outsides. Okay? So the author is going to introduce us to 3 personalities. They're a little different than classically understood personalities, and he's going to explain to us in a practical way how to navigate that. And hopefully, from the first few lessons, we have a kind of a little level of an awareness, a little bit more self-awareness to where we can even identify. If you remember at the end of the last class, I said, try to see once this week, this was last week, once this week where something is coming from your animal soul or godly soul, where you feel something, or you feel like reacting a certain way. Is that my animal soul or my godly soul? And the more we tune in, oh, this is coming from somewhere, the more we can kind of not make peace, because we don't have to make peace, the more we can acknowledge existence of this duality within us, okay? So let's jump straight in. What we said, right? We have 2 sets of insides, the animal and the godly. Here comes the problem. The problem is only one can be expressed at a time. Now we have a conflict, right? I can now identify, okay, this is coming from my animal soul. This is coming from my godly soul. Or my animal soul, my godly soul feel differently about the same situation. Who is going to be expressing? Who's going to be taking control? So It's no wonder as humans, we feel pulled because we are being pulled. It's like we said, it's innate. It's not like we ordered it or we asked for it, or it's part of us. So let's look and understand. On page 28, there's an interesting activity, which I would love if you guys would love to, get involved and do this. But it gives a classic dilemma. How would your animal soul react? How would your godly soul react? So if anyone wants to be the animal soul or a godly soul, feel free to jump in and you can represent one side. If we have a lawyer in the house, she may do a really good job. No pressure, Talia. Anyone want to jump in? We have a few blank faces here. No, am I gonna have to do it myself? I should call my kids over. Do you guys want to be in this? You want to come over here? One of you be the Nefesh Bahamas, one be Nefesh Elokis. Come on over here. Come on. All right, we have 2 children. We are not saying they are bad. They are humans. They are wonderful. Come here. They're never usually here when I'm teaching, so now this is great. Okay, so here's the situation. We have one. I don't know who's who. Wait, I'm gonna move over. There we go. An animal soul and a godly soul. Nefesh Bahamas, Nefesh Elokis. Okay, I'm gonna give you a situation. You're gonna tell me how you would react, and if it's your Nefesh Bahamas or your Nefesh Elokis. Okay. Okay, you're gonna jump in 2. Do you want to jump in 3? The screen is a big mess. Okay, so here's the situation. You have a neighbor. No, you have a friend. No, they're going to decide. They're going to react and they're going to decide which one it's coming from. You have a friend, and your friend is asks you, can I borrow something from you? They really
Xbox.
There's only one problem. They want to borrow. What do they want to borrow from you?
Computer.
Not they don't have phones. Come on. They want to borrow your basketball, your football. They want to borrow your football? They want to borrow your football. They love football, they want to borrow your football. The only problem is that last week you wanted to borrow their basketball. And they said, no, you can't borrow my basketball. How do you feel? How do you feel now that they asked to borrow your football? And what do you do about it? Are we gonna be shy? What's your gut reaction?
No.
Why?
Because you didn't lend me the basketball when I'm going to this, so why should I lend you my football? It serves you right, and it's my football, and then I don't want to get anyone else or something like that, so I'd rather be with me, So let's say I have a sports game at school or something like that, and I want to have my football.
Okay. You justified it for a few reasons. One was your gut reaction was, why should I? You didn't. And then you found reasons like I don't want it lost, and then I may need it. What's your reaction? I don't care about football. That was really not helpful. Theoretical. Why would you give it to your friend? What if you did care about football? Should you give it to your friend? They didn't give it to you last week. What? Say that a little
Just an object.
Just an object. How will it make your friend feel if you lend it to them?
Happy.
Why?
Because he did something for that.
Okay, so very clearly, now this is not representing their personalities because they are very diverse, as anyone who knows them and hangs out knows. Which one do you think was the Nefesh Bahamas? Which one was Nefesh Elokis? You think Nefesh Bahamas? Why? You want to come in and jump in and say that? Come in. You can't just say comments on the side. You either jump in, you're here or not. Okay, Musty's going to explain what she thinks. Go ahead quickly. Give us analysis. Yep, you got to come in.
The reason why he would be the Nefesh Bahamas is because the Nefesh Bahamas is like most of the time like selfish and like all about like me and all about making other people happy. To be the Nefesh Elokis because
Okay, thank you guys. You can go. You're dismissed. They just spared you an exercise, and now they can move on. Yeah, no, now your Nefesh Elokis needs to focus on the fact that I'm teaching Tara, and you need to walk away. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, so it's an interesting idea, and normally we don't have samples, but it actually says like, pretend you're one side or the other. Which one are you and how would you react? And that could play out, like we said, in a number of ways. Your neighbor, you ask them for something, do a favor, they say no. Someone, you ask them to pick up carpool, they're not able to, they're not willing to have the kids or play date, then you need them. We're gonna have gut reactions to certain circumstances because we're human, okay? And the author goes on to explain why that is that give and take. If someone wants to read page 29, and he's actually referring to an analogy that King Solomon gives, okay, in Kohelet. Okay, so if someone wants to read page 29, that would be wonderful. Anyone? Go ahead, Connie. Thank you.
The body is called a small city. Kohelet, Ecclesiastes 9:14. Just as two kings wage war over a city which each wishes to capture and rule, so the two souls, the godly soul and the vitalizing animal soul, wage war against each other over the body and all its limbs. The godly soul's will and desire is
Good.
that it alone rule and direct the person, and the animal soul desires the very opposite.
Okay, thank you, Connie. So basically, each soul really wants to dominate, okay? Each soul's like, I want to be the king, I want to be the boss. And the author gives us an analogy. It's like a small city with two kings constantly waging war. There's this tug of war. So we feel the tug of war because there is a tug of war. We feel two different ways about things that are good for us or things that are, challenging for us to overcome because there's this internal struggle. And I recently was giving this workshop to a group of, a workshop to a group of high schoolers. It was about 100 high schoolers, and these are girls that have learned concepts of Hasidus all their life. And one of the girls like, this is all great, but what about the issues we have? Like, we have issues. And I'm like, guess what? We all have issues. Guess what? You're supposed to have issues. Guess what? Issues are a part of life. And I looked around and I'm like, every single person in this room has baggage and issues. Why did I feel it was so important to say this to the girls? Because I feel like we have to acknowledge there's a problem. When we acknowledge there's a problem, we can deal with it.
There's a solution.
We can accept it. We can understand it's part of reality. We can try to find a solution. Exactly. We can't when we're like, there's something wrong with me. So when someone tells me, I recently had a conversation with a student, and this student was going through a very stressful, challenging, depressing time in life. Thank God we made sure the students had a good therapist. That was step number one. Medication, step number two, making sure the child, young adult, is being cared for and nurtured and nourished. And the student came over, and I said to the student, when's the last time you put on tefillin? And this is, it's tefillin, how's tefillin gonna help me? So 1 second, do you know the function of tefillin? The student said, I don't know, I'm Jewish, I'm a male, I guess I should put on tefillin, it's a mitzvah. Yeah, it's a mitzvah. I said, no, sweetie. Tefillin creates an alignment. You wear it over here, your intellect, between right here, your arm right opposite your heart, your emotions, and all the way down your arm to represent your actions. So the student said, how will it help me get my mind and my emotions and my actions aligned? Like, because that's exactly the function of tefillin, to align your intellect with your emotions, with your actions, with what God wants. So the student looks at me and says, so really exactly what I need is tefillin. I'm like, absolutely. Exactly what you need is tefillin. Because there's certain things, he's struggling with this alignment. He's struggling with alignment. As Jews, we have something to help you with that, okay? So when we see we're struggling with things, we gotta understand where the struggle is coming from and that there are potential solutions to those situations. So the Alter starts with saying, guess what? There's a small city. There's a battle between you and what you're struggling with and what you're doing. And now the Alter is going to say, guess what? There's 3 different types of people and how they handle the struggle. Okay? So someone read for me text on page 30, page 30, text 2. We'll jump in. Anyone? Go ahead, Dal, you got this. I appreciate it. Just give my voice a break. Hold on, I'm trying to unmute you. And it's not, hold on. It's not letting me unmute you. I think you have to unmute yourself for some reason. You're muted. Oh,
Unmute the
you
phone.
got it. Go ahead.
No, can you unmute Dahlia's iPhone?
Yes.
That's better. Okay, that's why I was hearing an echo. And my children keep running in. No, not right now, you can't.
Do they want to jump in and give us examples? Okay, go ahead.
They really will. Okay, I'm reading on page 30.
Yeah, please.
Okay. When a person wages war against the animal soul to the extent that he banishes and eradicates its evil from inside of himself, he's a tzaddik.
Okay. Character number 1, we're going to be introduced to. Hang tight, you're going to read. You know what? Read text 3. Text 3. You got this 31 just because you did a good job, you know. Go ahead.
A tzaddik despises mere gratification of the physical appetite because of his great love of God, which is mutually exclusive with the pursuit of pleasure for its own sake.
Okay. So first character number 1 we're going to meet is this tzaddik. What's this tzaddik? A tzaddik is someone who was either genetically born that way, that their inside is completely aligned and in control, or directed, dominated, converted to only what God wants. They don't have their own wants for their own sense of self. Their sense of self, and it says it's either through deep work that they've converted their animal soul to be a godly soul, or they were genetically born. If you look at the figure on bottom of 30, the 10 faculties of the animal soul are not even a reality. So they're not eating, you and I would sit down, or I should speak for myself, sit down and eat a good chocolate cake because I love chocolate cake and it's delicious and I'm eating it. Is that about God? It's about me. I love chocolate cake, right? It's delicious to me. A tzaddik is not eating chocolate cake because he loves himself, okay? So interestingly enough, that the tzaddik either banished and eradicated the internal evil, or they were born that way, okay? Prototype number 1. I'm not that prototype. Very comfortable saying that publicly. Next one we're going to meet is the opposite end of the spectrum, and that's the Rasha. Okay, on page 31, the Rasha, and this is a long explanation, and if anyone wants to read, I don't know, Lior, if you have it, or it looks like you're, hi. I see a cutie over there. But if no one else wants to read, I will jump in and read. The second category is the Rasha. The Rasha is subdivided into a myriad of degrees. On the one end of the spectrum, there is one whom only on infrequent occasion does the evil prevail over the good, conquering the small city, and even then not all of the body falls under its dominion, but only part of it. Namely, the animal soul prevails either in deed alone, in the commission of minor transgressions, not major ones, God forbid, or it may prevail in speech alone, or in thought alone, or in contemplation of the sin, after which the good that is in the godly soul asserts itself. He's filled with remorse over his transgression. That's one end of the Rasha spectrum, which we'll talk about in a second. On the other end of the spectrum, there is one in whom the evil prevails more strongly, and all 3 garments of the evil clothe themselves in him, causing him to commit more heinous sins and to sin more frequently, intermittently. He too experiences remorse. However, the good within him does not exert itself sufficiently to prevent him from sinning. So what is this talking about? So this Rasha character is either someone whose animal soul reigns supreme, like both thought, active speech, action, all about self, ego, what I want, and even leading this character to sin multiple times, repeatedly, right? The godly soul cannot assert itself, cannot say like, no, this is not okay, or this is not how it's going to work. The animal soul is in control. That would be one end of the Rasha spectrum. Other end of the Rasha spectrum is fascinating, and that is the inside feels negatively about something, may start to express it, regains the traction and the control. Meaning, at times, there's that conflict, and the animal soul wins. So you're angry at someone, you feel inside anger, your thoughts are consumed, your emotions are consumed with anger, your intellect is consumed with anger, your mind is consumed with anger, and you lash out and you lose your cool. That would be a moment where someone is not a tzaddik. They are acting like a Rasha. Now, we have to make a difference between this term that the Alter Rebbe is discussing, Rasha, and Rasha, the way the rest of, let's say we talk about Haman. We even say Haman HaRasha, Haman the evil one. That is not the Rasha that the Alter Rebbe is referring to, okay? The Alter Rebbe, the Rasha that the Alter Rebbe is referring to is the person who's inside is struggling, and the behavior, the garments, are coming from that selfish, animalistic, self-consumed place. Then we're not, and then of course, yes, there's the Rasha that is definitely, the way the Alter Rebbe says is a Rasha B'tovlo, a Rasha B'ralo. A young man, he's getting too much attention, right? Okay. The Rasha B'tovlo, the Rasha that's good, means that he can get it together, and the Rasha B'ralo, he's like, he's not in a good space. Okay? We say he, but it can certainly be a she as well. Okay, let's look at the Beinani. Now remember in the beginning of the class, the course, we said this is called Sefer Shel Beinonim. This is one of the names of Tanya, the book of the Beinani, the book that deals with the person, the intermediate, the person in middle. Most of us do not fall out into the total Rasha category. We don't fall out into the Tzaddik category. We're somewhere in between. So let's understand who this character, the Beinani, is. Because really, the Alter Rebbe wrote the whole Tanya for the Beinani. This is who the Alter Rebbe is targeting. This is his target audience. Okay? Who is the Beinani? Because obviously both the Tzaddik and the Rasha are extremes. Life is way more nuanced than those two extremes, day to day. So who is the Beinani? So if someone could read on page 33, if anyone could read on page 33, I would really appreciate it. Connie, you'll do it for us? Perfect. Hold on.
The Beinani is one of in whom the animal soul never attains enough power to conquer the small city, so as to clothe itself in the body and make it sin. That is to say, the three garments of the animal soul do not prevail over the godly soul to the extent of clothing themselves in the body. Only the three garments of the godly soul manifest themselves in the body.
Okay. Here's where we're starting to see things are starting to get a little bit more interesting. What's the Alter Rebbe saying? That basically the Beinani is struggling like the Rasha. The Beinani is struggling like the Rasha. He or she is struggling. It seems like a tall order. However, the external behavior is the level of a tzaddik. So the Beinani inside feels like a Rasha, outside acts like a tzaddik. External behavior of both active thought, speech, and action are top level, meaning has a negative thought I want, but redirects the mind to it, a positive place, or feels like saying something, struggles with I want to, the person needs to hear it, they deserve it, that justification, that internal struggle, but says the nice thing, okay? So the animal soul their war is going on inside like the Rasha, but the behavior is like the tzaddik. And what happens is, while that does seem extreme, the Alter Rebbe is actually saying it is in your capacity to control your actions. We are born with the ability to do so. So it seems, again, like I said, a big goal. Alter Rebbe has confidence, and soon he's going to give us tools on how to get there. Because as you can imagine, when your outsides have to be here and your insides are here, there is that tremendous tension. Okay? When you're inside, feel like my boss is such a blank and my workplace is so hostile, but I have to go to work and pay the bills and be nice and do what I need to do. That creates friction or tension. When my child is acting up and I want to say, you are acting up and really you are blank, 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 and but I know that that's not healthy and it's damaging. And even those feelings are not positive or productive. And I want to be a nurturing, caring, loving, positive, supportive mother. That tension, that friction between my insides and my outsides create a lot of pressure. And that pressure is stressful. So the alter will soon give us more tools how to navigate that giant gap. So to make it clear, on the inside, the Beinoni looks like the Russia, the struggle bus, okay? On the outside, the Beinoni has a little bit high-level self-mastery, okay? Let's read text 6, if anyone can, on page 33. By the way, jump in with any questions at any point, because I've been doing a lot of talking. So if anyone has any questions, I would not mind, obviously, happily. Anyone have any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
It's more like a comment.
Yeah.
I work as a lactation a consultant,
Yeah.
and when I work with one of the trainings that we had was how to take care, how to calm down the baby. And sometimes the babies, they start getting extremely angry. They get so angry that they cannot eat.
Yeah.
So we had to help them calm down. And what I was taught was that the baby is, like you say, the animal soul, it can get, when it start getting angry, it doesn't have limits. It just gets angry, angry, angry. When it's sad, it's totally sad. When it's happy, it's totally happy. I mean, there's no boundaries for them as we have them as an adult. So they give us tools to teach the parents how to calm down those babies, so they can go from a frantic, screaming and turning and all that, to calm down themselves, like turn off the animal part and be cool, and okay, now you can organize yourself, now you can start.
By the way, this aligns perfectly with what we were saying earlier, that the animal soul comes into play sooner, first. It's the soul that's introduced first. That's why it's called the first soul, because that self-regulation is not there yet. That's what parents and as nurturers and as lactation consultants and as support, that's what we need to do. We need to teach this child how to self-soothe, how to know that they're being cared for. And that starts at a very young age. But obviously, as our children age, that skill, how to have self-control, how to, right, that skill follows them hopefully through life. And then as they progress, we need to up the ante on that skill so they can utilize it as they're being challenged more. So Connie, thank you for sharing. And that's that's fascinating, because, well, thank God I did nurse 6 children. I was never a lactation consultant. I always turned to lactation consultants because I found that they had a certain grounding wisdom. So thank you for sharing that with us. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. So let's look at text 33, which is so interesting. We're going to continue to understand this Beinoni, because like we said, if the book is called Sefer Shel Beinonim, so it seems like a really good goal that my insides are conflicted, but my outsides can have self-mastery and behave. Is that realistic? Is that possible? Is that feasible? Okay. I tell the story of how I was walking out of the supermarket. I was sitting in my car and parked outside the supermarket, and I see this woman walking out of the supermarket, and she's tugging a child, like, that body language, like kind of dragging the child like heavy and pulling back. She gets to the car, parked near me, gets to the car, buckles in the kid, puts the stuff in, slams the door, turns around, looks, and she loses it. I mean, suddenly she looks over, she sees I'm there, she stops. Calm. What happened? What happened? What kind of self-mastery did she have? Let's think for a second. When did the issue that caused that rage start? That minute? No. Chances are earlier on in the supermarket. I mean, we can all probably write the script of what went on. right? The child wanted a toy, the child threw a tantrum, the child knocked over things, the child was running. We could figure out a sequence of why it got to that point. But what made the mother stop? So then she lost control. We can relate to that. We don't actually, interestingly enough, according to the Alter Rebbe, though, we'll learn we don't lose control, we actually give up the control, okay? Because the Alter Rebbe believes we can be in control, okay? So we give up that control or lose control, and then in a second, in a flash, regain it, grab back together, calm ourselves down. How's that possible? Was it self-mastery? What happens? How can the person regain and put everything they're feeling inside back in place? What's causing them to do so? Why did they stop at freaking out? Any theories?
Shame.
Shame, which comes actually from ego.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that person parked near me judging me. I don't want them to think I'm a bad mother. I'm embarrassed. I just lost control. Shame, again, coming from my ego, which we all could relate to, right? The analogy I gave last time of like, you know, you freak out at your kid for leaving Lego on the floor and you just hurt yourself and you find out it's neighbor's kid and suddenly, oh, that's okay, we'll clean it up together. What happens? Is that self-mastery? No, it's also coming from the animal soul. But behaviorally, it looks good. Behaviorally, it's like a tzaddik. So how do we get there? How do we get to create that, take that disconnect between what we're struggling with inside and the outside and align it a little better? Varda, any questions? No?
Nope.
Okay, just so you jumped off a speaker. Do you want to read for us? You don't have to, but if you want to. You
Sure.
can. Okay, 33 in text 6.
You mean 34?
Yeah, no, page 33, text 6.
Which is page 34.
Oh, it's on page, it's interesting. Okay.
Although the godly soul of the Benoni does not hold undisputed sovereignty over the small city, nevertheless, the animal soul is unable to implement its desire by clothing itself in the limbs of the body, because the brain naturally rules over the heart. For man was so created from birth that every person may, with the power of the will in his brain, restrain himself and control the drive of his heart's lust, preventing his heart's desires from finding expression in deed, word, or thought. Still, he is not deemed a tzaddik at all, for the godly soul's dominance is limited to the 3 garments alone.
So what is the Alter Rebbe introducing here? Here's a novel idea that philosophically is fascinating, and if we could walk away from this course with one idea, and it's this, we'll make progress in life. What's the idea that the Alter Rebbe is introducing? Hamoach shalit al halev. The mind can control the emotions. That means I feel a certain way. I could still do something about those feelings. Just because I feel a certain way does not mean that I need that to dominate my behavior. Okay? Now, pop psychology, I can't tell you how often our college students are told, if that's how you feel, feelings, don't tell me about facts. Your feelings are the thing that dominate everything. And I cannot tell you the spiral of negativity that has led this young generation to, and the burden they're carrying because they don't know how to deal with their feelings and reality. So what, my professor accepts this? I don't feel. This is not about your feelings. Our feelings are not, should not be steering the ship. Our feelings should not be the thing that are dominating all our behaviors. We have to listen to our feelings and our emotions. But if we lead a life that's just driven by feelings and emotions, you know, Connie, you're shaking your head, but I will actually say that part of the struggle of this generation is because we forgot that minds and feelings need to operate like this. And the Alter Rebbe goes a step further. He's saying, you ever saw, and I'm going to show you very briefly, you ever saw a human? Yeah, a human, just to like show you visually, obviously, a human being You'll clearly know I am not an art major in about 10 seconds, okay? A human being created, and Al Tobi says it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake. It's not like God. Okay, you'll see in a second. Mind and the heart. Okay, not clearly, not the artist. Brain here, heart here. Brain here, heart here. Al Tobi saying, whoa, we're humans. There's a reason our brain is put on top. God could have put our brain here, here, here. Some of us think our brain is in our stomach. It's not. Okay? God could have put our brain anywhere. He intentionally created our brain here. It's sending us a message. Your mind needs to be in control of your emotions. Again, not discrediting the space for emotions. When you see someone who just operates in the intellect and forgets emotions, you have a psychopath. Okay? Not healthy. But the mind can control the emotions. It's a tool we can use in when we're about to lose it. And I remember, if you remember, I talked about how that time that I really had lost it and I was snapping at everyone, and my child just looked at me and said, "You're in a bad mood." And I started yelling, "No, I'm not in a bad mood." And then I'm like, she's like, "You're definitely in a bad mood, a very bad mood." And I was like, suddenly it was such a good wake-up call, because I knew that I had lost it. My emotions or my exhaustion or my fatigue or my overwhelm, all my feelings had taken over and were determining my behavior instead of it being the opposite. And so what I ended up doing is stepped aside and thought to myself, okay, what do I need to do about my feelings? Where do I need to put my feelings? My feelings need to be put in place and be redirected into the place where they belong. So that's what we're saying is that, yes, you do have the ability to allow your external behavior to be not determined by your feelings. If you notice, when Levi started answering, he first went with the most emotional reaction. Of course I'm not giving the football. The person didn't let mine. Then he started to justify it. Okay? The justifications were also, now that was not scripted. They had no clue they were coming in here. They're usually not in the house when I teach. They just happened to be both sitting here, and you guys didn't want to do dramatic role play, so we pulled them in. But then he started to justify it. So first step was emotions. Second step was like, let me use my intellect. Now, interestingly enough, his intellect was still used to support his emotional reaction, right? I'm not giving it. My ego, myself, I'm not. And then, right, obviously we know it wasn't the best probably possible reaction, but we can also understand such a reaction. So that is a very, very powerful notion that we are created from birth with the power to restrain and control what the heart wants. And by the way, do we not teach our child that? You want the truck, you can't pull it away from your friend. I know you want it. You can't. Oh, you want to hit your sister? No, you can't hit your sister. I don't care how angry you feel. You can't hit your sister. Oh, you want to storm out of the room and throw your things? Right? We're meant to be training the child with these tools, right? We're to put the mind and the emotions into where they belong. So we're going to move forward with text 7 on page 34. If someone could read, it would be amazing. Dahlia, you want to read for us? You haven't read for a while? Hold on, let me unmute Dahlia's phone. Wait, Dahlia's phone is not there anymore. Oh, it is there. Hold on. There we go. Go ahead.
Okay. Impulsive thoughts of sin can manage to rise to his mind. Oh, this is the willful versus impulsive thought.
Yeah.
However, he'll not entertain them willingly. No sooner does it arise than he thrusts it aside with both hands and averts his mind from it. The instant he realizes it's an evil thought, he'll refuse to accept it willingly, even as a subject for mere fantasy, and will certainly not entertain the notion of acting on it, God forbid, or even speaking of it. One who willingly indulges in such thoughts is deemed a rasha at that moment, but the Benoni is not a rasha, even for a single moment.
Okay. Thank you, Tali. So what the Alter is saying is, Alter is acknowledging, hold on, let's get your phone. There we go. Sorry, it's the technology. We got this. The Alter is acknowledging, okay, it's okay to feel negative things. You know, and by the way, it's so interesting to me. One of the things I've been seeing lately in the trends in psychology or support groups or self-help, because I'm always in the field of dealing with people in challenging situations, under duress, and our students, there's a lot of struggles they're going through, okay? And a lot of our time is helping them through this. So because that's the case, I find something so interesting. I find that there's this new trend of acknowledge the feeling, let the feeling have space, and then send it on its way. And I'm laughing because literally 300 years ago, part of Chabad philosophy. I hear you, I acknowledge you're here, now move along. You don't belong. I feel you, I get it, I get you're angry, but make a choice. Where are you going with this? And that's something that Yossi and I really, really, really work with our children to acknowledge your feelings, not suppress them, not ignore them. That was definitely a generation trend. And we know that didn't help a generation, right? Feelings don't exist. There's no feelings. Children should be seen, not heard, right? We all can imagine, we all know what that looked like and the trauma that caused. Then the pendulum swung all the way to the other end, and now it's only about feelings. Validate every feeling. Alter Chassidus, Chabad, gives a much more balanced way to look at this. I hear you. You feel resentful to your neighbor. I get it. You should still give your neighbor the football. Giving a silly example. But acknowledge the feeling and then send it, put it where it belongs. And choose to live a little higher, further, and stronger. So does the Beinoni always? Now, here's where we have go ahead. Were you going to say something? I saw someone. Did I miss someone trying to jump in? No? Okay. So really, what the Alter is going to try to do is have this Beinoni, have us as human beings, with our internal struggles, have more Beinoni moments. More moments of Beinoni. So that, and I'll read text 8 and we'll kind of wrap up with it. So too, it matters between man and his fellow. As soon as there arises from his heart, in his mind, any animosity or hatred, we can all relate to this, resentment, animosity, hatred, whatever emotional reality negative emotional reality we're thinking of, okay? Or hatred, God forbid, or jealousy, anger, a grudge, all emotions we can relate to, right? And the like, he will bar them from his mind and will. On the contrary, his mind will prevail over and dominate the feelings of the heart to do the exact opposite, and he will conduct himself towards his fellow with kindness, displaying disproportionate love towards his fellow. Even when extremely pained, he will not provoke into anger, God forbid, or take revenge, God forbid. What the Alter Rebbe is doing is he's giving the Beinoni more. The goal is to have more tools, to have more Beinoni moments. I feel a certain way, resentful, angry, negative, frustrated, all of those things. Again, almost always coming from ego, from myself. Person hurt me, insulted me, stepped over me, took my position, insulted my child, whatever it's all about me. I'm the center of that. Again, from my animal soul. Now, can we go further and override them? And really, the Beinoni, the tool of having more Beinoni moments is not just between you and fellow man, but you and God as well. So I don't feel like lighting Shabbat candles. I really am running late. I have a job. I have to make a deposit in the bank. Shabbat is so early nowadays. Goodness gracious, 6 p.m. I have to be home with my candles lit. That's a perfect moment that we're struggling. Does it really make a difference if I light a candle in my house? Who cares? I'll do it next week. It's a normal struggle. So that's between us and God. No, the God who created the world told us sanctify the day, gave us this commandment to bring light into the home as a unique mitzvah as women, and do that mitzvah with lighting at the specific time. No problem. We can logically override it. And the same thing goes for us and fellow man, which we feel a certain way towards someone, we want to express it a certain way, and we are going to choose not to. So the Beinoni is on the struggle bus, just like the Rasha, but the Beinoni overrides and overcomes and succeeds. So here is the challenge of this week. We're going to stop here. It's a perfect place to stop. We're going to stop ourselves here. I'm just writing here so I know where we're starting next week. I'm going to ask everyone, just like last week, the challenge was try to identify a feeling or an emotion or an experience and see where it's coming from, the animal soul or the godly soul. The other thing we talked about is try to see how something can be used and elevated for goodness. Okay, something neutral, non-holiness, can we use it for good? So now comes our next week's challenge. Our next week's challenge is, can I try between this week and next week to have a Beinoni moment? Beinoni moment means that when I'm struggling internally, whether it's with someone else or with a mitzvah that I'm learning about or I'm challenged on, can I choose to allow my godly soul to steer the ship in my mind, meaning my active thoughts, my garments, right? My speech, meaning I want to say one thing, I feel it, I'm going to override it and say the right thing. In my action, what I do, and obviously in my active thoughts. So that's a challenge. One more Beinoni moment this week than you've had the week before. And the more Beinoni moments, the more it's easier to be a Beinoni, because it's like a muscle. We exercise it, we get better at it. Any thoughts or questions before we wrap up? Any questions or thoughts? Yeah,
Just a thought. I think if right now in this country and in other countries, there's a higher divorce rate, and I think if we would have both parties, a lot of Beinoni moments, it wouldn't be divorces and more marriages probably.
I hear you, and I will agree to obviously we're not talking about, God forbid, a situation where there's abuse or something real, but a lot of people walk away because their feelings aren't there. And it takes anyone who's been married, you talk to your grandparents about their marriage, it's not because they say it was easy, it's because they care to be in the moment, be in it. And so really, this new language we're going to learn through the Alter Rebbe can give us real practical tools for day-to-day life. So l'chaim, ladies, each and every one of us, l'chaim, to more Beinoni moments, a little bit more this week than last week. Even if you could just identify one, it will already be a success. Okay? Good night. If you have any other questions, I hope it was clear. Hope it was a good recap from last class. Jumped into this class. All right? Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
it's a pleasure. I love this. Take care. Good night.